Hello, everybody. It's Mike Yao with Fire in the Head Productions, Savage Kingdoms, Red Sun, etc. So, in case you guys didn't hear, we made the official announcement a few days ago, like 3 days ago, something like that, that I'll be going forward with a fourth edition of Savage Kingdoms. Yeah, I kind of teased that a few months ago in some videos and such, so we're going to make it happen. So this kind of comes on the heels of the Red Sun, my Red Sun Kickstarter that did not quite make it. It failed, fell just a little bit short. And that's fine. It's a great game. I'm still very proud of it. So, but I'm going to kind of put it on the back burner for a little bit and maybe go back to Savage Kingdoms, my Savage Kingdoms game, which I published back in 2014. This being the first edition book, actually. As you can see right there, the logo continues to be the logo. It's been augmented slightly with the new additions. And yeah, this is a soft cover, actually. See, 300 something pages. I forgot 300 and right at 300, basically 304, I think. So that's the first edition of the game, and we're going to go forth with that's the first edition, going forth with a fourth edition to officially announce that right now. So we've had posts on the Facebook group, and I've brought back the new website, which I will try to remember to post the URL down below here in the linky dink the area. So yeah, exciting news, and this is while I'm at it, I have both of these books out. This is the second edition, also known as Reforged. That was the second edition, technically a 1.5 edition, which is why I didn't call it second edition. Also, I was trying to do a fancier title than just like first edition, second, third, fourth, blah, 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 like all the other games do, most other games. Some do like different sort of titles. So fourth edition, in fact, I was looking at maybe calling it Savage Kingdoms Re-Risen or Resurrected or something cool like that. But right now it's just going to be called Savage Kingdoms 4th Edition. And then hopefully over time it's just Savage Kingdoms, and it just happens to be the 4th edition. I think D&D kind of does that same model. Dungeons & Dragons does that same model where it's like, yeah, it's whatever edition, but really it's Dungeons & Dragons, and we hope you play it. And, they have enough editions now that you can play any of the editions, which are fairly different from each other. Whereas Savage Kingdoms remains pretty close. Like I've had enough changes to justify a new edition every 3 years or so, because this will be the year 12 coming up since the first edition. And I would show you a copy of the third edition book, but I actually didn't pull that one next to me. It's in my car, but you've probably seen it, or if you play recently, if you've been playing recently, you're probably playing third edition. So it's a small game. It's a small indie game. I realize there's dozens, maybe hundreds, a few hundred people that play this game or even aware of it throughout the planet. But having done some polls and some other data gathering at conventions and at local gaming shops where I run games both professionally and and amateurly as well, I've kind of gathered enough data to realize that there's enough people that still really like Savage Kingdoms, and even some new people that have kind of heard of it, and they're like, you know what, this sounds kind of cool. We'll be kind of behind you should you kickstart said edition. Speaking of Kickstart, I probably will literally use Kickstarter this time. Last time I used a Kickstarter, a crowdfunding, I used Indiegogo, which I've been successful with before, but it didn't do it this time. The only one that I've not fulfilled. I'm like 8 for 9 or 9 for 10 and like crowdfunding. Part of that was my fault. I didn't really probably market it well enough, and it's a whole thing. It's fine. Maybe it's a blessing in disguise because it now opens up this fourth edition that I've been working on. So in fact, it's actually 92, 93% written. So between 90 and 95% already done. I've already been playtesting it the last year and a half, I think, alongside Red Sun. Red Sun was kind of been giving more of the go light, where Savage Kingdom, the green light, was kind of in the background, and that's why I decided to kickstart Red Sun a few months ago. But again, it didn't make, which is fine. Might try it again later, or maybe not. Maybe I'll just keep it a PDF game. I have an old West game that I've completely designed. It's just completely a PDF science fiction game that is mostly done. Like it's playable like it is. I just need to fill it out some more. Not really my thing, science fiction as much as medieval fantasy. That's where I live. That's dear to my heart as it is a lot of people. And good on you guys. Science fiction is great and all as well, but really like my medieval fantasy, or more technically, Dark Ages fantasy, which is what Savage Kingdoms is. It is a combination of sword and sorcery. Is probably the really the main influence, but it's kind of its own thing. There's elements that aren't necessarily traditional sword and sorcery in the classical sense of the word. So that's why it's. In fact, if you notice here on the first two logos of the last two editions, probably should have showed you the other one. You could probably see it says "Heroic Sword and Sorcery Role Playing Game," which is great. Now on the new logo, which I've changed, it says Dark Ages Fantasy Role Playing Game. So I'm probably going with that. I might go back to the Heroic Sword, the original, but I kind of like where it lives. I think it gives people a little bit better idea of like this is not technically medieval fantasy in the sense of the Middle Ages or High Middle Ages, and particularly not the early Renaissance. This is more of a Dark Age. This is more in between the Age of Antiquity, the Classical Age, or the Ancient Age, as well as the Dark Ages. So while we're well into the Iron Age, and even steel has been figured out a while back ago. If we're following an Earth-like timeline, which vaguely kind of am here, it's a totally different world. Obviously, it's not Earth, but I do follow these parallels. As a storyteller, as a writer, as a game designer, I tend to follow what I call templating, and I like doing cultures and things that are kind of close to things we already know. And this is a technique many people know. This is like nothing special. Whereas people kind of have a general idea in their head. Like if you say that, oh, this character is from Mezca, it's a Aztec like culture. Most people know automatically in their head, like at least 50% of what that means, or maybe more, maybe less, but at least a chunk. Or this is like the Roman Empire, kind of, and obviously there's differences because again, it's not historical Earth; it's its own setting. It's highly detailed. There's actually a lot of little differences, but as a general a template, which is why I call it templating. I don't even know if that's accurate, something I made up, I guess. You kind of have a general idea what you are, or I want to play a calling of not calling as like classes almost in the system. I want to play a knight, and you kind of know generally what that means mostly. Or I want to play a sorcerer, you kind of know what that means. I want to play a priest. I want to play a merchant. So all these things that are kind of templates or tropes for not only medieval fantasy, but in this case, Dark Ages fantasy, and in many cases, sword and sorcery, etc., like that. So, anyway, not meaning to ramble. The main message here was that we are going forth with a fourth edition, Savage Kingdoms. I'm pretty excited about it. We'll see. And I'm going to do a series of videos coming up. Hopefully, people will see them and try to detail all the different like aspects of the game. Basically trying to promote it, sort of hype it a little bit. Maybe I'll do a video that showcases. I think I did that with the last edition. Showcases the difference between the Reforged edition, or the second or 1.5 edition, to the third edition. What the differences were, and I think that some people said that was helpful. But for the most part, the game system itself, the core system is going to be there. I'm bringing a couple things back, like the imploding one, which a lot of people liked. The reason I got rid of it in third edition is because I think it made the game faster. Technically, it probably does, but I don't think it's that much. So, and I've always kind of gone back and forth on my critical failure rules. Natural one, you add up your bonuses. If it comes up to 10 short of the difficulty rating, then you failed, or if it's a 0. They've all been well and good, but I'm going back to the imploding one because I think it's a little bit more sense of an excitement, and it's a little more on the nose. The other ways I was doing it was just, I don't know, they were a little clunky. Not terrible, but just a little clunky. So as of right now, we're going back to the imploding one. It is currently in the playtest rules document. I think I'm on version 7.2 at this point. So you can see I've gone through several tweaks and versions to get the rules out to my playtesters and my personal players. For the by and large, they've really enjoyed the new addition, some of the tweaks I've made. Um, Then while I'm on the subject, I'll do a more complete video about this, but let's see, I'll go over a few more changes really quick. So we're looking at going back to if you roll a natural 1, you add your bonuses if you have any. Say you're +3 in whatever skill that you're rolling, and you roll a natural 1, so that's a 4. You roll the die again and subtract. That's what the imploding 1 means. And if it's 0 or less, you have critically failed. It's a pretty elegant system. Again, the only reason I got rid of it in third is that it was just an extra roll, but it only happens 5% of the time. So I was like, yeah. So if you're really good at something, you have a lot less likely chance to critical fail, right? Makes sense. And if you're really terrible at something, you have a much greater chance to critically fail. Again, makes sense. Um, yeah, and this matters. This is no matter what. So even if you roll, say, a natural 2 and you're -2 in that skill or whatever it is you're trying, and that's still a 0, that's still a critical failure. So the critical failure does not have to occur from a natural 1. It just you have to get a 0 or less in whatever it is that you're rolling. Exploding 20s are still there. They've been a staple of the game through 3 editions and now 4. That is if you roll a natural 20 or, a 20 on the d20, you add your bonuses or whatever modifiers you have. And you get 2 choices here. You can re-roll, you roll again the d20 and add that raw result to the number that you originally had. Or you can select to take +10 instead of rolling randomly, because you could roll a 1 or 2, or maybe you roll a 19 or 20 or something. So yeah, if you if you roll a natural 20 and then it explodes and you roll again and you get say a 19, yeah, the numbers can kind of get up there. But if you score 20 above the difficulty rating, which is what we're calling it in 4th edition, and previous editions it was known as a DL or difficulty level. Just for whatever reason, I decided to change it to DR difficulty rating. I think it rolls off the mouth a little bit better. It was also the term I was using in Red Sun, so I'm kind of tying them together. And also, as a game designer, I think almost all game designers do this. Whenever you do a new edition, you change a few things, even if you don't necessarily have to, in order to connect it to that new edition. So it's almost like little cues or little clues within the text. You're like, oh, this is 4th edition because he's saying difficulty rating. Minor thing. But anyway, and only a couple things are changed like that. Just to make things a little clearer. So yeah, so you can roll again the d20, or you can add +10. The game master is encouraged to always take +10 instead of rolling randomly, but I don't know. I might, through recent playtests, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see where that stands. Again, this is still in playtesting. It would be kind of in the beta phase at this point, like pretty well into it. But there's still plenty of time to change things if they don't work out or if they're not completely happy with it. So that's still there, and the imploding 1 is back. Oh yeah, so another big thing, attributes. So attributes started with a +3. They used to start with +3. So you got a total of +3, right? And you can what's cool about Savage Kingdoms, you can literally craft your 6 attributes the way you want, but they can't total more than +3 at character creation. That is now +4. So I moved those up to a total of +4. So your character starts off a little slightly more heroic than like the average person, but not massively so, because this game is fairly grounded, especially at lower, even mid advancements. It's a little bit grounded. A peasant can take you out if you're not careful. You have to be pretty smart. It's a little gritty. I tried to make it it's a little more, I hate to use the term realistic. Verisimilitude is maybe a good one, or believability. Yeah, we paid attention to that. So this would be called, like, I would call this a simulation light game, maybe even simulation light, where it does make an effort to simulate something to do with the Dark Ages. It's almost like a what if. What if a Dark Ages Earth-like world existed, and there were fantasy elements. There was sorcery and strange creatures and demons and supernatural creatures and giant animals, though not over the top with them, again, because it's grounded. And so it's like a what if that were to happen. Meaning that most of your medieval Dark Ages stuff is there, with a little element of fantasy. I think George R. R. Martin is perfect with that. With A Game of Thrones, is like his setting is really good with gritty, grounded, but yet there's these elements that are kind of rare, or there's a better reason that they may or may not exist, or have existed, or might exist again in the future. Right. So you start with +4 total attributes. Your attributes still being agility, physique, vigor, intellect, magnetism, and willpower. What else is a quick change I can mention? Video is already 15 minutes, so we'll stretch out a couple more minutes. Oh yeah, you cannot start with a skill level in a skill level 3 or higher anymore. Well, you can. You have to take the adept talent, and that allows you to start a skill at skill level 3 should you choose. All other starting skills have to be skill level 1 or 2, which is novice level. 3 is adept level 3 and 4, and skills go all the way up to level 10. So the only thing that's changed there is that skill levels did go up to 10, I think, or was it 9? I think no, it was 10. But you could start with skill level 3 skills. So the reason I've taken it back, you still actually start with still probably slightly more power, despite that sounding, because you start with +3 total attributes. And also, their big thing in the new edition is that skill specialties are a +2 bonus. They used to be +1. For example, the best example probably of skill specialties is weapons. So say if you're +2 in your melee weaponry skill, but you have a specialty in, say, longsword, you're +4 with longswords instead of +3 like in the past. Or if you have a specialty in, say, stealth, and your specialty is in the forest, and you're +3 in stealth, but in the forest you'd be +5 if that's a specialty. So the fact that you're getting another +1 there, and you start with +4 attributes, that's a decent little power shift, but it's tailored. It's kind of tamped down a little bit from the fact that you can't start with more than skill level 2. And there's other reasons for it too. There's other deeper game design and math reasons. Believe me, I've looked at it over and over, changed it, play tested it a lot. It's I'm sure it's in no means perfect, but it is pretty much where I want to feel very comfortable with it. It gives people a chance to be really good at stuff without being ridiculously over the top until you earn some literal skill level training in it and stuff like that. But you still have the natural talent of possibly a +3 or even +4 attribute. Your attributes can start up to +5 actually, which is what do I call it in the heroic level, I think. However, again, if you can only start with +4 total, if you do start with a +5 attribute, you're going to end up with -1 for the rest of the 5 total out. So just keep that in mind. And the only reason you can start with a +5 is if you have like a certain blood talent, like Trollborn or Giant Blood or Demon Blood, where it gives you that bonus. Most cultures, particularly human cultures, aren't starting above +4 in something, and it has to be within their favorite attributes. So every culture is very specific. Like depends on where the culture comes from, where the training was, and all traditions of the culture, and that is what. So in other words, favorite attributes represent that each culture or race kind of favoring towards one thing. And this is world building. This is how you create cultures and races. This is why I'm not a huge fan of D&D doing the just get a +2 bonus on whatever you want. It's just really hard to craft a culture there, like explaining why you're that. Anyway, that's a whole different video. So we're not falling into that trap. We're still staying with if you want to be this race or culture, this is kind of your leanings. You don't necessarily have to be that. But these guys are known to be kind of physically strong. These people are kind of known to be smart or wise or vigorous or agile or whatever the case may be. So yeah. What's another quick change I could do? Oh yeah, spellcast. Just really quick. So spellcasting, I'm super happy with. I mean, I was always happy with the magic system or the sorcery system. There's the 7 disciplines of magic: air, earth, fire, water, life, shadow, death. All that's still there. So the only thing that's really changed, which I'm really happy with, that I cleared up. So the difficulty ratings of spells they used to be like 10, 15, 20. They kind of went fives. So now it's 10 plus the magical arts level of the minimum magical arts level of the spell, or you can call it spell level. So for example, if it's like a spell that you need to have magical arts, whatever, discipline level 1, that would be a DR 11 to succeed in casting it. That you would make your roll. Those of you who are not familiar with Savage Kingdoms, it's a roll to cast system, which is super exciting because just all kinds of cool stuff comes out of that. And I'll go more into that into further details. And if you played the game, you probably know what I'm talking about. But so the difficulty rating in this case would be 11 to make the spell work. And in many spells, just like in combat, the higher you roll over the difficulty rating, the DR, the more the spell works, the greater it does, the more damage it does, the more effect. Sometimes if you get 10 over, there's like another effect that you can it'll say in the spell description. Or a critical success does something even more amazing, and you can critically fail spell casting, which is super awesome, super scary, but awesome because I'm trying to. This is a semi sword and sorcery game where magic or sorcery should be a little scary, a little more serious. Not everybody's throwing random cantrips around and stuff like that. And also the stamina cost of each spell is also keyed to that. So for in this example, that spell would have cost 1 stamina point. For a level 2 spell, it would cost 2 stamina and be a DR 12 to successfully cast. 3 stamina for a third level, DR 13, etc. So as you can see, it's all, and if you've seen past editions, you'll know what I'm talking about. It wasn't bad before. I think most people were happy with it, but I think this is so much more streamlined. I'm so happy about it. It's going to be really cool, I think. Um, any other changes? Just really quick, I'll do a video with all the changes, but I just wanted to throw some stuff out there just to add a little more content to this message, so it's not just, hey, we're doing Savage Kingdoms 4th edition and see you later. Although some people like that kind of video. If you're this far, at least you've seen that message, and now you're getting some bonus content, I suppose. What can I end this with? Any last minute changes? Yeah, some of the creatures, they've all been updated. They're actually, a lot of them are a little tougher than they were. So note that, but it'll be much more interesting and challenging and fun, and not like massively so. Uh, um, yeah, I think that's probably it. So I'll end the video now. Thanks for checking in. Check out 4th edition. Savage Kingdoms will kickstart it probably in February and March. And until then, talk to you guys soon.